Good afternoon again to everybody, to colleagues, panelists. I'm happy to be here today because we had on the table a great topic and small thoughts, I think, in this period, because I think that we are still not aware of consequences of these last few months. And I want to say special thanks to Alexandra and Isabella for the great job for the organizing this event and the series of this webinar. In this short time that we have today, I want to thematize just one small and simple topic among all political, social, health topics, which are very important these days. But I use a prefix re connected to the restart topic of seminar, connected to architecture, and want to thematize two things. First is dimension in architecture and connection with analog and digital space. So we must confess that we are already deal with the redefinition of the architectural standards, architectural parameter in architectural practice. So it is about new dimensions in space and new possibilities of space. It is evident that we must rearrange all standards because we have new architectural syntagma, which is social distance. What it means? For example, in this period, we lost movement as the fourth dimension in architecture. When we changed sky with the land, like with airplanes, we immediately change movement as directly connected with architectural space and definition of architectural space. On the other side, relation between analog and digital space, we can see on every empty space because we change free public space with digital space in our home. Stay at home means empty public space, which means reconnection with analog and digital space. And the second important thing, to have empty space means, like John Berger said once, all things consider the way of looking. Maybe the new empty space means that we can see that space on with other eyes on the other ways. These analog spaces are on one side, but on the other side we have digital spaces, and with social distances on a side, the pandemic directly problematizes values, measures, and dimensioning space, and on the other side, using all application to be able to live and work. We all know who work with students during pandemic that we totally change methodology, approach to how to learn students, how to work with students, and how to explain what is a place and what is a space. Also, as architects, we deal with all different standards, parameters, objects, square meters, and volumes. New terms like stay home problematize what is home, what is distance, what is social distance, and again, what is, for example, 1 or 2 meters and what is a square meters. So could the new standards for architectural design be new measure in distance, for example, bed numbers in the hospitals, or the speed in of net connection, or the gadget that we have in our hands? So it means that we have two reciprocity. One, on the other hand, analog places became smaller, and the digital places and space can be more huge than the analog one. So this is one of examples that we can regulate our background using, for example, Zoom of Microsoft Teams. So it means that the distance between us we can be different, and that we can regulate our distance, and that the social distance can be paradoxically very narrow. This is one example from Belgrade situation. It is Belgrade Hall of Belgrade Fair, and it was a 3,000 beds hospital during the pandemic. So I use this example to explain what can be the new value of space, considering new situation. This is very interesting example, because we have so many examples during the world and pandemic. But this is very interesting example because it is multifunctional space with default. So it is not used for the other places, but it is very changeable space. And we have situation during the, for example, car fair last year, or exams for the preliminary exam for the faculty. And I want to move maybe 15 years ago to the Tate Modern Tribune Hall. It was a very extraordinary combination of two exhibitions. First, it is Dominic Gonzalez Forrester exhibition. That exhibition problematized future 2058. It is year which is in focus. It is about catastrophic situation in London and try to save all good and all art values in the Tate Tribune. And the other combination, this is combination of two artists. It is Maman sculpture from Louis Bourgeois, which thematize also somehow a way of living and natural relationship with mother and stay of living and stay life without any catastrophic in the world. So similar situation 15 years ago in Tate Modern, like we have now in pandemia, for example, in Belgrade Hall 1 for Belgrade Fair. But what is the crucial thing is that we have elementary one element which defines space, and space are defined by elementary space for living. In this case, like in the case of Belgrade Fairs and more spaces around the world, is a hospital bed. This is from that exhibition, but it is the different situation that the feeling and empathy of the children still show that it is not important just dimension and value of the space, but somehow narrative and what is space like in its analog nature. This is also one artistic experiment, but it is not using 10 years ago to show social distance, but this experiment wants to show freedom in natural space. So the distance in architecture, it cannot cause just the social distance and barrier to be safe. And I mixed I think just very short, I mixed a few virtual tours during pandemia. It is Louvre, MoMA Museum, Uffizi Gallery, and in Vancouver, Philharmonia. Just to open the question, what is virtual space?
Collection. One of them is to try to do away with the idea that collection is permanent, but rather that it's something that lives and breathes, that's constantly changing. I think it's a responsibility of the collection and the display to really respond to the time that we live in, to the conditions in which we live every day. That's what we can do. We can bring this collection out, mix it and remix it so that it's constantly responding to the world around us.
Okay, I just stopped because I have just a few minutes. Okay, what I want to say, to organize digital space will be similar to the way that we organize physical or analog space. Keep and organize file system is easily found and reference. We have Le Corbusier, or we have Leonardo, based on Vitruvius, to explain what is possibilities and what is the measure of space. But now we must find the new way how to organize and redefine new definition of the space. And for the end, I want to show some projects I think that it is for some park for Brooklyn, but considering instead of some remarks, I want to remember last pavilion in Venice, because it can be actual today, because now I think that we will be, all of us would be in Venice on Architectural Biennale, but I find that this artistic pavilion, Golden Lion, from Lithuanian pavilion, it's very significant what are happening and what will happen for all of us in post-pandemic period. Just a few seconds from pavilion. And the topic is that the various changes triggered and adoption of new measure in progressive impulse that displays the human body to the 10 millionth part of Earth's meridian quadrant that represent the matter. Thank you.